So in this session, we're gonna discuss how to drive fresh, fruity white wine, but also red wine style, focusing on some aromas. So as an introduction, here are all the aromas we can find in the grapes and in the wines. They are classified into three categories. So first are the primary aromas, the ones we found in the grapes, which are the terpenes. Some grape varieties have more terpenes than others. For example, Muscat or Riesling has a lot of linalool or Gewürztraminer, but also methoxypyrazine such as IBMP contribute to green notes into Sauvignon Blanc or Cabernet Sauvignon, for example. You also have hexanols. So these aromas are really dependent on the terroir, the vineyard practice, but also the harvest time. Then we have the secondary aromas, the aromas that are becoming volatile through alcoholic fermentation. So this includes volatile thiols, so aromas of citrus, passion fruit, pineapple, boxwood, the fresh side of aromas, but also terpenes, so rose, floral notes, but also sometimes fruity or spicy notes. Norisopridioids, like black pepper. We find a lot of norisopridioids, for example, in Syrah, or some of other red varieties. And esters formed during the fermentation. We're gonna go over that a little later in the presentation. And then we have the tertiary aromas. These aromas are developed through autolysis from lees, or you can get them from oak, or just the evolution of other components that creates more aromas related to aging. So the wine is very complex matrix. It can contain over 1,000 volatile compounds. So it's not as easy and simple to explain, but today we will focus on extracting and revealing as many aromas as you can from your grapes in order to make a very nice wine to enjoy, to drink for customers. So the last part about tertiary aromas, there is a full webinar focused on this. So I can also send you the link. So I'm gonna mainly focus on the first two parts in terms of aromas. So how to optimize aromatic potential of your grapes. So let's say you have the aromatic potential, but you want to develop as many aromas as you can from these grapes. Rather, it's grapes that contain a lot of varietal aromas, such as Sauvignon Blanc. So you want to develop more volatile thiols, or more neutral grape varieties. So there are a few techniques. So first, we will go over how to extract and get all the aromatic compounds from the grapes in your must to accumulate them, and then how to protect them because they can be very fragile and you don't want to impact them with oxidation, for example, and then how to increase these aromatic precursors, especially in the must or during the fermentation. And during the fermentation, we want to express them mainly thanks to the enzymatic reactions through thanks to the yeast. And finally, again, how to protect, how to preserve these wine aromas over the time during aging and in the bottle. So yeah, each phase is built on the previous ones. And so we'll explore how to fine tune each for better aromas, retention and expression. So first, let's talk about extraction of aromas precursors from grapes. So as I told you, the date of the hour of harvest in the day, and also the harvest decision time is very important. But if you want to extract and accumulate more precursors from the grapes, you have to take into consideration that mainly most of the aromas in this situation, we're talking about thiols, are present in the skin. And in the skin, it's a little bit more complicated to extract all the aromas because it's more resistant. It's a full medium of pectin. You know that. So in this graph, we see that the highest proportion of 3MH and A3MH are in the skin. So how to extract more of these aromatic precursors? So you can do skin contact, maceration. You can play with temperature if you want to do cold stabilization or increase a little bit the temperature. The pressing is very important. So here on this graph, we see that the more the highest the pressure is during the pressing, the highest your 3MH rate is. So having a good pressing program can be an option. We also have at Bucher Vaseline a machine called Inertis that will, during the pressing time, inject neutral gas, so there is no oxidation. It can inject nitrogen or CO2 during the pressing, so there is no oxygen to impact the volatile thiols or any other molecule in your must. Lead stabilization at low temperature, that's a practice to develop and extract more aromas, and enzymes. So enzymes like enzyme crush. So just to give you a context, so this is the pectin matrix. This is just a regular drawing of a berry. So you can see that the skin is composed of mainly all the tannins, anthocyanins, but also aromas. So this is a thick cell walls. That's a much more complex pectin matrix. You have cellulose, hemicellulose, different branch of pectin compared to the flesh, where the cell walls are thinner and it's mostly more simple linear pectin chain. So it's easier to extract the inside of a berry compared to the inside of the skin. But what is the most important for us is to be able to extract what is in the skin of the grapes. Rather, if you want to extract more color for red wine, or for white wine, more aromas and more polysaccharides. So this is a simple test we've been doing. So it's called the Schiff test. So basically, it's a coloration we add to show the polysaccharides in your grapes. So you see that all the polysaccharides are contained in the cell walls of the grape. It's pretty clear that it is in the cell wall. And we've been using two different enzymes to see how enzyme can impact the extraction of the cell wall component. So we've been using an enzyme, we will call it X, compared to the anosine crush. So we can see that on the inside, so on the flesh side, you can see that everything is kind of extracted, but still there is a lot of pink color in the cell wall, more closer to the skin of the grapes. So not all the cells has been extracted, not all the component has been extracted, so it wasn't efficient enough to extract all the components such as polysaccharides, aromas, color. Compared to the enzyme crush, you can see that all the color has a better repartition. We could have a complete hydrolysis of the cell wall, so it was more efficient on all type of pectin and area of the grapes. So it shows that it enables a more extraction of compounds from the skin using a specific enzyme, and not every enzyme are the same. You really need to look at the different activities of the enzymes, because some of the enzymes are not efficient enough to break all the cell wall near the skin. So what does the enzyme crush do? It breaks down the complex pectin matrix, but also the linear pectin chains close to the skin. So then that helps to lose the structure and release all the phenolic compounds, the color, the aromas, and the precursors of aromas we want to extract, keep in the wine to then express during the fermentation. So using an extraction enzyme can be useful for a lot of different objectives. If you want to increase a volume, that will help you to get more free-range juice. We'll see that later. So it improves more aroma extraction, more color stability, because it also extracts some polysaccharides that will be able to stabilize the color after. Improve mouthfeel, also more polysaccharides, and then decrease the astringency perception. Improve the filtration and settling, because this is pectinase, so that they have an impact on clarification. And you can also shorten maceration. Let's say you only have a few days until you need your tank again, then adding an enzyme will help you to shorten your maceration time, or cold stabilization time. On this graph, it's just a control. It was on pecorino, white grape. We can see that just using an enzyme crush helped to extract way more A3MH and 3MH thiols precursors, so you can get at the end more aromas, more thiols in your wine. So talking about juice extraction, I just wanted to show you this graph. So we've been doing side-by-side experiments. We always do trials every vintage all over the world. So here it was pretty interesting that to show that we were able to have more free-range juice, but a higher proportion compared to the control. So you see that at pressing of a Chardonnay, the control, so we were able to extract a little bit less than 50% of free-range juice, compared to with just using an enzyme, just using the enzyme crush, we were able to have almost 60% of free-range juice. So that can be a game changer if you want to extract more of the qualitative juice and then have more higher quality wine. So we've been just doing a little cost calculation where if we are able to extract 3% more of free run, which is usually not a lot, usually using an enzyme crush, you can get from 3 to 10% more free run juice. So we calculated the impact in terms of the economy you make if you have a wine that is sold at $5 per gallon, 15, so medium value wine, or premium wine and at $30 per gallon. So you can see that just by having 3% more free run juice, so where you don't have to work too much on it, it's usually the top of the quality. So you can get up to $878 more because you basically sell more of this qualitative juice. So basically the enzyme is paid for itself. The enzyme will cost $22 for the enzyme treatment, but what you get in terms of free run juice is way better. This is the revenue increase for 1,000 gallons. So $22 is the treatment cost for 1,000 gallons. Then, so we extracted all the precursors of aromas we want. Now the idea is to make sure they're not gonna get impacted or oxidized in the must or during the process. So this is one tool. Of course, there are other techniques, but here I just want to focus on fining. So fining is a very classic traditional practice, but it works great. So you can fine with just regular sedimentation. So you press your white grapes, you get the must, then you add your fining, you wait a night or a few hours so all the sediments can settle, and then you rack off the lees after, or you can do flotation. Both works well. So why are we doing fining? So using a fining agent, usually it's protein-based fining agent, they will be able to eliminate unstable phenolics. So these unstable phenolics are oxidation precursors. They are easy to oxidize. They can impact browning or astringency, and also oxidize other components such aromas. It will improve the clarification, so adjust the turbidity of your wines. It does improve the aromatic expression because you remove everything that can impact your aromas or oxidize your aromas. It does improve the color and improve the wine stability, obviously. So which fining agent? So in La Motabier, we are the pioneer in the pea protein fining agent. We've been working with pea protein in Europe since it's for at least 15 years. This is a very good not only alternative to gelatin, casein, or PVPP, it's just a very efficient fining agent. So I would suggest using Green Fine Express, which is a blend of PVPP and pea protein. If you really want to focus on oxidation, removing the yellow shades and have a little bit more impact. That's great on press wines, press fractions. Green Fine Must, to me, is the most versatile fining agent. It's pure pea protein, works very well on color, on removing all the phenolics and keeping a very good mouthfeel. It's not going to strip the wine. And Green Fine Nature is a good alternative to PVPP. and gives a better impact on compacting the lees and decreasing bitterness. So here, as we are focusing on aromas, here is the comparison between a control on a Sauvignon Blanc to a fining. So the dose of the fining was 30 grams per hectoliter on must, grain fine must, which is the pure pea protein. So you see that you have way more thiols concentration after the fermentation compared to control that wasn't treated, that wasn't fined, because some of the volatile thiols and some of the precursors got oxidized, and the wine was not as aromatic as when you're just using a fining agent. And this is also a very interesting picture that shows that using grain fine must also impact the color. So you remove a lot of yellow shades, quinones, oxidized compounds. So it's an easy tool. It's natural. You just mix your fining agent in water, you add it to your tank, you mix well, and then you wait until the next day, or it depends on how you work at your cellar, and then you will be able to remove a lot of precursors of oxidation or polyphenols that can impact bitterness, astringency, and aromas. Then, so we went over the concept of extracting as many precursors of aroma as we can, protect them, and now how can we increase the content of aromatic precursors? So I'm going to talk about esters and thiols. So first, the yeast produces esters acetate from amino acids. So this is all the esters production pathway. So ester of acetate of ester are made by the yeast from amino acids, nitrogen. So you need to have the good amount of nitrogens, but it also needs some vitamins, well, everything to develop well for the yeast. And then it's gonna transform into higher alcohol, and with acetyl-CoA you can create more acetate esters that are usually recognized as fruity, floral, stone fruit aromas. And then another pathway is the ethyl ester production from fatty acids and ethanol. So there are two different pathways. I'm not going to go too much into the details, but this is also to show you that it is important to have the good fermentation conditions and nutrition requires, because if the yeast is under stress, if the fermentation is too fast, or if the yeast doesn't have all the vitamins, amino acids, everything it requires, it will not be able to create as many aromas, esters, so acetate of esters and ethyl esters as you would like to have. Then, talking about another aroma pathway, here we're talking about volatile thiols. So first, we have the 3-MH or the 4-MMP that are linked to glutathione or cysteine. So there are cysteine or glutathione derivatives. So thanks to some enzyme called the carbon sulfur lyase, which is an enzyme activity you can find in the yeast, the precursors of thiols are converted in volatile thiols, which are 3-MH or 4-MMP. And then the yeast can create 3-MH, well, can create a 3-MH from 3-MH. So all the thiols compounds are present in the grapes into precursors form. So all the thiols are attached to another molecule, so glutathione or cysteine. But during the fermentation, only 15 to 20% of these volatile thiols are converted into volatile thiols. So the aromas you can actually smell. So this enzyme, the carbon-sulfur lyase activity, is liberating all the thiols from glutathione, and then they are becoming volatile. And then if you want to create more A3MH, this is the 3MH is transformed by the yeast into acetate 3MH. So it will change the aromas from citrus fresh thiols into more tropical passion fruit, pineapple, more aromas. So that's the idea behind the thiol spiceway. So how to increase these aromas? So first, let's talk about what we just saw. We want to make sure we can create and convert as many volatile thiols as we can. So we want to increase this conversion rate. So to that, you can use specific nutrients. So it's basically food for the yeast to produce more volatile thiols. So it contains everything the yeast needs, which are inactivated yeast, so yeast derivatives rich in ACH peptides. So a lot of amino acids such as cysteine, homocysteine, etc., etc. So you can add that during or at or before the inoculation of your yeast, and this will help you to create more volatile thiols. So you see that compared to control, using 15 gram per hectoliters or 30 gram per hectoliters of this optithiol, of this specific aroma boost nutrient, you can get a much higher content of thiols, not only for MMP and 3MH, but also a very good conversion of 3MH into a 3MH. So this wine with the optithiol will result in a way more complex wine. So not only citrus aromas, but fresh thiols, tropical thiols, and fruity, just a global fruity wine. Then, if we want to focus on esters, you can also use a specific nutrient that will help and boost the production of esters. So it's another selection of amino acids and ergosterols, so fatty acids that the yeast will use to create esters. You can add it so during the early fermentation, so the day after inoculation, for example. And to increase more floral, fruity aromas, we always suggest having a lower temperature of fermentation to boost more ester production and lower turbidity in anaerobic conditions, so less oxygen. So as you can see in this graph, using 30 gram per hectoliters of the opti-ester help to just get a better perception of fermentary esters. So the wine will be way more fruity, floral than than the control. So then, using this type of product, will really help to increase the conversion rate of your aromatic potential, so it's not lost. So your aromas are there and fully developed. And it's just the best condition for the yeast. So you need a healthy yeast and good nutrition with, of course, good temperature control and oxygen control to create this amount of aromas and this aroma complexity. We have a lot of customers using both of the product during the fermentation to have a little bit of thiols and a little bit of esters. Some people in Sauvignon, for example, would use 10 gram per hectoliters of the optiester and 20 of the optithiols, so they get a pretty good balance in terms of aromas. Works pretty good on Chardonnays, but also on red wine. If you want to have a very fruity, fleshy red wine, optiesters and optithiols can be also used. So we've been talking about everything to increase the precursors and the aroma potential. So now, how to express them? So how to release even more aromas during the fermentation. So I went over that a little bit, but we can refocus. So the fermentation conditions are very important. So you can play mainly with the turbidity or the temperature of fermentation. So higher turbidity will produce more varietal aromas, so more precursors will be released. So turbidity from 150 NTU, and lower turbidity will produce more fermentary aroma, so more esters. So higher turbidity, more terpenes and thiols and norisopridenoids, and then esters, you're going to get more fermentary aroma. So the yeast choice is very important because not only the temperature and the turbidity will impact on the aromas, but also the capacity of the yeast to create aromas will be very important. So we selected some yeast that has specific enzymes activity. For example, our Excellence FTH and Excellence TXL that are the most efficient to produce thiols has been selected mainly because they have some carbon sulfide lyase activity, which means that it will their conversion rate for thiols is higher than other yeasts. So they are the most developed and adapted for volatile thiols conversion and thiols production. If you really want to focus on esters, so more red fruit, stone fruit, and floral aromas, the Excellence STR would be a better candidate. I love the STR on rosé. I think it's very beautiful, very fruity, not being too fake. I would say it's more fruity and complex. And if you want to develop in your wines more of the norisoprenoids, I would suggest the Excellence DS. And as I told you, yeah, the temperature really will impact the aromas production. So on this graph, we've been doing a screening of different strains of yeast, different strains that were supposed to produce more thiols. So it was on a Sauvignon Blanc. Alcohol was 13.3, pH 3.4. So we've been fermenting all the strains, same conditions, same must, and we were able to see that the Excellence FTH were the one that would produce the most of the A3MH in yellow, so passion fruit and tropical fruit, 4-MMP and 3-MH compared to other strains. And then, so nutrition is very important because you can have the best yeast, but if the conditions are not there, it's not going to produce much aromas and it can even struggle. So yeast rehydration is very important to optimize the yeast metabolism, and also focusing on organic nutrition, let's say good food, high quality amino acids, fatty acids, and vitamins is important for the yeast to grow and have the right metabolism to create and convert aromas. So focusing on rehydration, this is a trial we've been doing 2 years ago in Sonoma. It was on Sauvignon. We just wanted to see the impact of yeast rehydration, so the enostem, on the aromas and the health of the fermentation. So using yeast protector will promote healthy cell development, better cell wall. So basically, it's gonna give all the yeast needs at the beginning of the fermentation to be healthy and strong enough to go through all the fermentation and the hard condition of fermentation. So you're just adding vitamins, minerals, sterols, and other fatty acids that will increase the yeast resistance, but also create more cleaner wines and more aromatic wines. So you don't only want to create aromas, you also want your fermentation to be healthy and not create some aromas that can mask the rest of your wine. So not producing, for example, off aromas such as dimethyl sulfur, metanthiol, or H2S. So all the off-sulfur compounds. So we can see that just using enostem at yeast rehydration just didn't produce any off-sulfur compounds compared to a control. I think that's a very, very interesting trial. The VA also was much lower compared to just a control that wasn't with the same yeast, wasn't rehydrated with enostem. Pretty interesting. So there is a pretty big difference. So you start with a lower VA, and in terms of aromas, so the thiols, you can see that compared to the control, we had plus 50% more A3MH, 3MH, and 4-MMP. So basically, you have less stress. The yeast is healthier, so it's gonna produce less of aromas of sulfur compounds, less VA, and so the yeast is in the best situation to produce and convert more volatile thiols. So talking about expression of aromas, you can, so basically, and this is what we learned, is that the major part of varietal aromas and fermentation aromas are produced during the fermentation, but even during the aging, there is also a possibility to produce more aromas. Let's say you have a white wine, after fermentation, it's not as aromatic as you expected. You can still do something during aging. So there are two tools that you can use during fermentation and maturation. So I'm going to present you two enzymes. So first enzyme is called enosine thiol. So the enosine thiol is a blend of enzymes that has beta-lyase activity and beta-glucosidase. That means that the beta-aliase activity is basically the yeast activity for converting the precursors of thiols into volatile thiols. So let's say your yeast converted 20% of the volatile thiols. There is still a lot of precursors in your wine that are into the precursor form that you can smell, but using this enzyme, you will be able to convert all these precursors into volatile thiols. So you can use it during the fermentation or during aging. Some people are just adding it just before bottling, so they are sure all the thiols, the aromas will be developed and not impacted by oxidation or aging, for example. It's a liquid enzyme from 4 to 6 milliliters per hectoliters. And so as you can see, it increases the total amount of thiols, so more aromatic complexity. And then another enzyme that is another pectinase with more beta-glucosinase activity that will more focus on terpenes and noisoprenoids. So basically more for reds if you want to develop more spicy aromas or floral aromas, or all the grape varieties like Viognier, Gewürztraminer, Chardonnay, Riesling, Muscat. If you want to push a little bit more the aroma complexity, you can use this enzyme during the aging or before bottling to release more aromas from the aromas that are bound to some sugars. So it's very efficient. You can use it, and usually people stop it when they are tasting it and are happy with the result. Then they add a little bit of bentonite to stop the enzymatic activity of the enzyme FW. For the enzyme thiols, you don't need to use bentonite to stop the activity. So both are go-to options if you target specific aromas, if you want more freshness, more floral, citrus, stone fruit lift. It also improves wine clarity and cleanliness of aromas. Just another slide to show you the impact of enzyme thiols on rosé wine compared to a control. So that was on Grenache rosé. So just using enzyme thiol improved the freshness, the red berries aromas, and the overall quality, having more aromatic intensity, more length in the palate. Kind of the same results with enzyme thiol on a white wine. Here it was Sauvignon. More freshness, length, more complexity, and same on red wine. So a lot of red wines contains thiols, basically Cabernet Sauvignon, but also Sangiovese, Syrah, Pinot Noir. If you want to improve the freshness and the red fruit profile of a red wine, you can also use the enzyme thiols on red to get more fruitiness, more cleanliness of aromas. So I think that's a very good option. And then last but not least, once you extracted all the aromatic components and then you develop all the aromas you wanted, aromas are pretty fragile. They can be impacted by oxidation and aging. So the idea is to protect them in order to not lose any complexity over the time, and then extend the shelf life of your wine. So we have some tools to make sure you're not going to impact the aromas and have flabby or faded wines. So of course, cellar practice are very important to limit oxidation. So minimize the oxygen at each wine movement, use inert gas during racking or transfers, maintain a good hygiene and monitor dissolved oxygen. But you can also use some products that are very reductive. So SO2 is an option, but sometimes if you have higher pH or if you don't want to use too much SO2 because that can be a lot, then we have other solutions. So one solution I'm not going to talk about is using oak tannins. So we have a tannin called tannin sense volume, which is untoasted French oak tannin. It's basically one of the most reactive with oxygen. It will decrease and rebalance the redox potential, so your wine will be more protected against oxidation, and your SO2, your free SO2 will be higher because your wine will be more protected. So using tannins during aging can be a good option. Sometimes they can have a little impact on mouthfeel and astringency, so you need to do trials before adding a tannin to your wine. But there is also another option, which is the use of yeast derivatives rich in glutathione. So glutathione is a natural molecule you can find in grapes, but usually over the process and the winemaking time, the glutathione is consumed. You don't see any remaining glutathione. But this is one of the most powerful molecule and the most reactive molecule against oxidation. So here are some trials where we compared the use of Aroma Protect, which is yeast derivatives very rich in glutathione, compared to just, so same wine, control, and same wine with 30 grams per hectoliters of Aroma Protect. So we can see that 3 months after the fermentation, the control lost from 76 to 100% of their thiols. So we can't see any more A3MH, and the 3MH level is very low. Compared to the wine that has been treated with the Aroma Protect, it's nearly lost, like, yeah, from 0 to 4% of thiols. So it was really protected. So you can get more freshness over the time if you know that your white wine or red wine will stay in tank for a longer time. Using Aroma Protect will help you to keep the same quality, same freshness of aromas over the time. Same after 6 months, so 6 months after fermentation. So this is in tank, stainless steel tank. You can see that, so that's the losses of thiols. So the control lost from 55 to 75% of thiols. So not a lot of aromas remains in the wine. Compared to the wine treated with Aroma Protect, it lost way less thiols. So you're gonna result with a wine with higher complexity, a higher dose of volatile thiols. So Aroma Protect is a blend of cysteine, peptides, and glutathione. It's a natural antioxidant. You can use it at the end of the fermentation and at every wine movement. So some people are using it for every wine movement, such as racking, wine transfers, filtration, to all this specific moment of the wine where it can be dangerous for the wine. This is sometimes where the wine can be oxidized more easily, so you can lose some freshness and some aromas. So for example, if you make sparkling wine and you have 3 bottling in the year, you want to make sure that the first bottling has the same quality as the last bottling, so you extend the shelf life of your wine, you keep the same quality and amount of aromas over the time, and also in the bottle, it extends the shelf life of your wine. So just basically increase the natural resistance of the wine against oxidation. So to summarize, so here are 4 main categories. So we've been talking about the best practices to extract aromatic compounds. So thinking ahead how you want to extract your components, whether it's using specific pressing cycles, using maceration, cold stabilization, lean stabilization, sorry, or using enzyme to extract as many precursors you can. And then you can increase the aromatic precursors using specific nutrition such as optithiol or optiesters to be able to have more aromas and more precursors. And then to express aromatic precursors, you can play with temperature and turbidity, but also nutrition will be very important for your yeast, so it can develop and express your aromas and the complexity you want. So using Enostim for yeast rehydration, you can also use some enzymes that will increase the conversion rates of your varietal aromas. And then to protect your wine, so of course, control your oxidation, protect your wine against any oxidation. Using fining agents en masse will help to avoid and remove some polyphenols and molecules that can oxidize your wine during the process. And during aging, Aroma Protect is a very great tool to avoid oxidation and just to protect your aromas over time.